This is Ringler Radio, where you get all the latest news and information about settlement solutions, litigation, mediation, and structured financial security from Ringler, the largest and most experienced company of settlement consultants in the United States. Ringler has been helping injured people and their families since 1975. Ringler Radio is made possible in part by American General, Liberty Mutual, MetLife, Mutual of Omaha, New York Life, Pacific Life, and Prudential. Now join Ringler Radio host Larry Cohen.
Well, hello and welcome to Ringler Radio, everyone. I'm your host, Larry Cohen. Normally, we talk about structuring settlements for injured parties. But today, we're going to help their lawyers with some ideas on how attorneys can defer their fees and reduce their tax burden through some new and innovative approaches. With us today is Phillip Krause, Managing Director of Strategic Planning here at Ringler. Phil manages our key strategic partner relationships and assists all of us with strategic business plans. So with that, welcome, Phil. It's great to have you back on Ringler Radio.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate it. Good to be back.
Terrific. Well, you know, Phil, lots of attorneys may be familiar with how a structured settlement can be used to defer the receipt of a fee and related tax liability. But talk to us about the JurisPrudent Ringler Deferral Program partnership. Tell us about that.
Great. Well, first, again, it's been a long time coming because as an organization, what we did first is we kind of looked at, what was out there in the marketplace. And as you mentioned before, many of our folks for, many, many years have been offering what I'll call our traditional, core solution, the fixed attorney fee deferral product. So what we wanted to do, again, is kind of take our time, evaluate what was out there in the marketplace, and really doing it from the perspective of the client, in this case, the plaintiff attorney, and looking at kind of what mattered to them most, as well as obviously hitting some of those key pain points. And below the surface, what we looked at is we kind of considered, their desire for safety and security, as well as looking at fees and costs and flexibility. And we really feel like we kind of hit a home run with JurisPrudent because they met all of those standards that we had in place. So I'm really looking forward to kind of going into detail and depth as to how they're different in the marketplace and why we chose them.
Well, that's terrific. But what about your experience? What in the financial arena have you been involved in, and how did it inform you when you went about creating this new program? Tell us about how it came about.
Sure. As you're familiar with my background, I've been both a financial planner, pension consultant, and investment advisor. And what I did is I kind of had to wear all three different hats. And again, look at it from both my perspective with my experience as well as from the perspective of the client. And so again, as a financial planner, you're looking at asking the right questions. And so we'll go into the pain points in a little bit about, again, what is the concern that the client has? What are their objectives? What are they trying to accomplish? And then as, again, an investment advisor and pension consultant, I look at, again, evaluating investment options, fees, cost, performance, and coupling all of that together with, are we meeting the client's needs? Are we meeting their objectives? And are we doing it in the most efficient manner? And again, looking at JurisPrudent, I really feel like it accomplishes all those goals.
Well, you spoke about pain points. So tell our audience, what are some of the common complaints or the financial obstacles for attorneys that this program addresses?
Sure. So, again, in looking at the marketplace, what we do is we really try to again, act objectively in every solution that we provide to clients. And the way that we do that primarily is we look at a survey of the marketplace. So we started with a survey of the marketplace, and what we noticed is that most attorney fee deferral solutions that are on the variable side are offshore. And we found that that was an obstacle that was, in some cases, very difficult to overcome. So one of the first pain points is the onshore-offshore component. And with JurisPrudent, it's all onshore, which, again, is a nice hurdle that we don't have to overcome and is very important in terms of safety and security for our clients. And then going a little bit deeper, because there is no assignment, because it is onshore, there are no assignment fees, so we're able to reduce considerable upfront startup or setup costs to the client. There are none with JurisPrudent, so there are no assignment fees or costs. And then we looked at kind of the ease of doing business. We want to make this easy for our clients. And so there's a one-time account setup that allows for a very simple deferral of each and every case moving forward, kind of like a 401k plan. And that was really important to us because, again, we know as settlement consultants, we know sometimes, the process of which, to get a client to essentially defer any fee or any annuity. And we wanted to make sure that we made this as easy as possible. And so again, JurisPrudent allows for that one-time setup and that continual deferral and accumulation into a single account. Well, last but not least, 100% transparency in fees and pricing. So it was really important that we had transparency and low-cost options and an efficient way by which the attorney can invest their funds. And so again, we've accomplished kind of all those things under one house.
Terrific. You're right about the first time anyone starts up with a program like this, and you go to an attorney and say, let's try to do it. It's just that getting over the hump of setting it up the first time, and once you establish a template for an attorney, it makes it so much easier to continue on, and they can really build a portfolio. You've done some case studies, Phil, on how the program has been used by various attorneys. So give us an example to tell our audience how it really works in the real world.
Sure. Well, there's really three very simple ways in which we try to approach, again, solving some of what the trauma or the pain points are with our individual attorneys. And the first one is looking at it, like I said, like a similar qualified plan, like a 401k type plan, where they can just take a small piece of every case and use it to accumulate assets that ultimately can pay for either their expenses, whether it be their overhead, their payroll, or they can use it to essentially pay for stuff like retirement or something longer term in duration. So it's really flexible and allows them to accomplish both short, intermediate, and long-term goals. And then another pain point, which we are really happy in terms of our ability to, kind of discuss and talk about with the client, is employee retention. And so, in conversations that we've had, and we had several conversations with plaintiff law firms when we were looking at designing some of these tools and techniques. One of the main issues and concerns they have is they constantly are losing some of their best, attorneys as they groom them. And essentially, those attorneys that leave end up being competitors in the marketplace. And so what we want to do is create an employee retention tool, which JurisPrudent has available with a bonus pool structure that allows attorneys to essentially offer the solution to some of their junior associates to keep them vested and keep them there within the law firm and kind of grow with the firm over time, kind of golden handcuffs, as you will. So that was important.
Yeah, it is kind of a golden handcuffs. And to some degree, it's a blessing for them, because a lot of associates that help work on cases sometimes don't get quite rewarded the way they should. And this affords the firm an opportunity to reward them, while at the same time hopefully retaining them. So there's a double-edged benefit there. Well, unlike some other programs, Phil, what seems to be unique here is that there is no offshore component, meaning that the money stays in the U.S. And I know you mentioned that a little while ago as one of the key elements of this program. But how does it actually work? Describe the process of where the money goes, and how it works.
Sure. So like a traditional attorney fee deferral solution, the money would go to, in this case, Bank of New York Mellon is actually the custodian of the funds and the assets. And in most cases, what we'd like is obviously for the funds to go directly from the defendant to the custodian. It's not necessary in every case, but again, it's a kind of a similar process to our traditional solution where a check would go or the funds would go directly to Bank of New York Mellon under the trust account that JurisPrudent has set up. And then the attorney would get access to a portal, and they would be able to go into the portal, and once a month they can actually suggest changes to their investment portfolio. So there's a lot of flexibility there, and they can choose from about 20 different index funds, Vanguard, iShares, different low-cost index funds. But one of the really cool things about this throughout that process is JurisPrudent designed model portfolios at no additional cost to the client. So they can actually choose from a couple of different model portfolios, conservative, moderate, aggressive, and JurisPrudent will actually help manage and allocate those funds for them at no additional cost. And so again, that was a really nice thing when we looked at evaluating kind of this compared to other alternatives out there, is that many of them, there's an additional cost for that service, and we wanted to keep that cost low and keep it very efficient for the client. And then last but not least, and I know we're going to go into the flexibility of income and payments, but there's also another unique opportunity in terms of flexibility as well that really stood out to us.
Well, that was a very good explanation. I think our audience has a much better understanding now of how it works. Well, thanks for listening. I hope you'll check out Part 2 of the JurisPrudent Deferral Program as Phil Krause discusses how plaintiff attorneys can achieve better control over the timing of their income by deferring it in an easy and transparent way. Be sure to tune in for that.
This is Ringler Radio, brought to you from Ringler, the nation's leading provider of fair settlement solutions. Did you know that Ringler is involved in a third of all structured settlement cases in the country? Ringler advisors work with all the parties in a lawsuit settlement to find the best possible financial solution for the people involved. Everybody wins. The views expressed by the participants of this program are their own and do not represent the views of, nor are they endorsed by, Legal Talk Network, its officers, directors, employees, agents, representatives, shareholders, and subsidiaries. None of the content should be considered legal advice. As always, consult a lawyer. Thanks for listening to Ringler Radio, celebrating more than a decade of podcasting and over 2 million listeners. Think of Ringler, the objective settlement advisors with more than 140 consultants in 60 cities nationwide. Visit ringlerassociates.com today.